Then why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here? Young 10-year-old, very intelligent-looking young lady, a black young lady who will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in her classroom. She doesn't want to stand up because apparently she believes that black Americans need a lot more to be done in this country. You know what I believe, Cornell? And I know you supported her publicly. I think at 10 years old, she has no real understanding of what America is. So I wonder if her parents have sat her down and explained what Americans have given their lives, white, black, red. It doesn't make any difference. They stood and they fought and they died for this country, and she doesn't want to do anything to honor them?
Matt, she comes from a family of military service members. Her father's is a retired military service member also, who served this nation well with great dignity.
Good.
Her mother's a very intelligent woman. What white people need to understand...
Just white people?
Yes, please. Let me explain. That national anthem was written by Francis Scott Key, a slave owner.
Oh, here we go.
Who demonized and hated black slaves and black people. Go research the third verse where he says, "There's no refuge in this country for the hireling or the slave. Both should be turmoil to the grave."
How's her parents doing?
This is a man
Are they successful?
that promised turmoil for black people to the grave. Would you ask Jewish children to say a pledge to a German anthem that disrespects Jewish people?
If they're
No, you
living
would
in
not.
Germany,
No,
sure.
you would not.
Well, sure.
That disrespects Jewish people?
Then
No,
why?
you would not.
You certainly can kneel down. In America, you have the right to do that.
America looked at the same way at Rosa Parks when she refused to get up and give up her seat to a white man on the bus. But history vindicated her. History vindicated her.
Two different
America demonized Harriet Tubman for freeing slaves from slavery, but history vindicated her. So I say to that young girl, you stand strong, stand up, and stand for what you believe in. And to all of those who are too coward to do it, don't get in that young girl's way. Others like her, support that young girl.
What would you like her to say to the men and women who have fought for this country like I ran into over the weekend? The black men and women who fought for this country, and some who gave their lives.
And ask the black men and women who served America in its military, like in the Independence War. We helped America get it, and we were still slaves afterwards. Ask those in Vietnam who gave their war on Vietnam battlefields, but then came back and was called niggers in their own country. We have fought in America's war, and we've never been given the justice and the due process of everybody else in this nation.
Then
so
why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here if you don't like it?
Let me tell you why. Because the country belongs to Indians. You white folks stole it from them, raped and robbed their people. This not your country. You all came over here and stole it and beat the hell out of them.
When I was born,
this not your country.
It was my country.
You all need to go home.
If you
all need to go back where you came from.
If you don't like it, why don't you pack up and go?
Let the Indians decide who should pack up and go. And I guarantee you black folks will stay, and you all will be on the first damn boat leaving here. So don't try that, brother. You all didn't make America. This is not your country.
What you should do is sit down with someone who has fought for this country, Cornell. Get their opinion too.
Tons of black people have, and what have we gotten from it?
Hello, my good people, and welcome back to my channel. White people get really uncomfortable when black people bring out their history. They tell black people to forget their history because remembering it exposes the truth and would force them to admit that America was built on stolen labor and stolen lives. So the anger that we see isn't just about the past, it is about accountability. So let's get to see the reactions, then I'll come back with more commentary, all right?
That Fox 26 interview with Cornell was not about the little black girl who did not want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. That debate was about who gets to belong and who doesn't. Because Cornell explained calmly and historically why a little black child may not want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, or the national anthem for that matter. He explained how the man who wrote that anthem was a slave owner who despised black people. He explained how black soldiers fought, bled, and then came home to a country that still called them slurs, still denied them the same freedoms they went and fought for those white people to have. He explained that freedom in America has always come with an asterisk for us. And so what did that white man do? He interrupted, he overtalked, he continued to dodge accountability, and then he pulled the oldest card in the book. Well, if you don't like it, why don't you just leave? And that question right there is the tell. Because white Americans cannot fathom why black and brown people will criticize a country that we still stay in. And that is because white Americans' nationalism is their identity, not principles. See, black, brown, and indigenous people have peoplehood. We have lineage, we have memory, we have culture that's older than the American flag. Our identity exists with or without America. And white Americans don't have that. Because remember, most of them were not nobles. They were not royalty. They were Europe's cast-offs, criminals, rapists, debtors, and the violently poor that were exported to stolen land. The society that put them on the bottom of the hierarchy rid themselves of them and then shipped them here where they built up a hierarchy that put them at the top. They invented whiteness to cling to. They invented something that gave them a sense of identity, something they could invent that made them think they were superior, and indoctrinated everyone else by threat of violence and force and death to believe that what they were inventing was true. They wrapped their entire self-worth in a nation that they felt that they could finally dominate. And that is why they cling to that flag, to the anthems, to the pledge, because that's all they have. So when we say, hey, this country harms us, they don't hear a call to repair. They instead hear a threat to their identity. When Quanell told him all the reasons why black people believe that we should not have to stand up for an anthem or pledge our allegiance to a country that's never put us anywhere but at the bottom, that white man said, well, then why don't you leave? Because they hear a threat to their identity, that's why the solution is always for us to leave. But here's the part they choke on. Just like Quanell said, this country ain't theirs. This country was stolen from indigenous people, built by enslaved Africans, and maintained by exploited labor. We didn't come here chasing some dream. Our ancestors were brought here in chains. So don't ask us why we stay. Ask yourselves why you won't leave. I believe they will not leave because deep down they know that this nation, this country, this America is the only thing standing between them and finding out who they really are, the type of people they really come from. And that's why a black child choosing to sit down for the Pledge of Allegiance threatens you, terrifies you, because it's not disrespectful, it's honest. Black people's relationship with white people in America has been one of narcissistic abuse, and it's just like a narcissist to say, don't talk about all the ways in which I hurt you. Congratulate me for giving you the smallest bit. Tell me how great I am. Don't look too closely about the wrongs I've done because that didn't happen. Just like a narcissist.
But Matt, my problem with this is, why are we so worried about getting rid of all of the Mexicans or Hispanics that are quote unquote here, if they're illegal or not? At the end of the day, many of them are paying taxes. Many of them have been here for generations and decades. And Matt, trying to get rid of 4 or 5 or 3 million people all at once is not going to work. We don't have the resources.
We don't have to do it all at once.
And secondly, Matt, listen, there is no such thing as an illegal Mexican immigrant coming into Texas because they're only coming home. Texas, Arizona, and California was stole from the Mexicans.
Don't start that
This
nonsense.
all belonged to them. So they're only coming home, and then here it is, you white folks stole the land from the Indians, but yet you're the natural, real illegal immigrant.
So let's start with the things you said that are already wrong. First of all, they're coming here, they're not paying any taxes. You're telling me they're paying taxes? They're not paying taxes because nobody knows who the heck they are. No, they're not paying any taxes.
Matt, when they buy a product, they paying a tax on it.
Let's continue
When they buy a car, they paying a tax on it.
You come into this country illegally. That is a law that you're breaking, and that's why they have to be sent back to wherever they came from. They want to come through the front door. That is the correct way to come in. And the city of Houston has to stop allowing this, or we're never going to get them to stop coming in here. Look, Matt, that's what we got to do. Follow the law.
But Matt, where is the compassion that the indigenous Indians had for white people in this country?
Why do you keep going backwards?
They let you all come in.
What are you going backwards?
And you came in and raised a whole lot of hell.
Don't start.
Trump
start
called
bringing up
Mexicans
history and try and
rapists. He
explain
called
what's
them
going on
criminals.
today.
Trump called the Mexicans illegal criminals coming into America. Well, the biggest illegal criminal ever come into America was white people.
So you don't give a damn if people break into this country?
I don't give a damn.
I wonder what's going to happen when they come and rob your house.
I don't give a damn about hypocrites who came here illegally and stole all of this and now want to blame them before only coming back home. To all of the Mexicans, don't worry about this. Just keep having babies, and in 30 years, all these white folks will be under your control.
To Americans, let's stand up and do what the hell we're supposed to do and stop letting the city of Houston be an open door. This ain't no sanctuary city.
Don't listen to that.
This is a real city.
Just keep having babies, and at the end of the day, you'll run everything in Texas. Just keep having babies.
Now you understand why I got to come here every single week, and I gotta go after this man and maybe get through that thick skull one day.
In 20 years, you're gonna be the minority in Texas.
Alright, racists, we're gonna address this again, since the inferior people are struggling. Black Americans are the only indigenous people on this land. Melanated people are the only people around the world who are indigenous on every land, no matter their ethnic group. Uncivilized lands all have the same genetic connection. Melanated skin with varying shades of brown. And those groups are not connected to Africa, just like Black Americans aren't connected to Africans, ethnically. The actual American Indian, known as the Black Americans, are the ethnic group of North America, not descendants of Africans. Let's dismantle the greatest public relations fraud ever committed, the desperate multiracial campaign to erase the true indigenous Black American from this land. There is a coordinated effort, a relentless lie, designed to make Black Americans believe they are a guest in someone else's house. But the unchangeable, archaeological, and historical truth is that Black Americans are the foundation. They were here first. And by here, I mean the world. Every country. Every strip of land. And they built the civilization that we are all destroying. The lie about Africa is to confuse and mislead so that the theft can keep going on. Black Americans weren't even considered African American until 1988 by Jesse Jackson, a known Cherokee Indian. So they'll pay a Black American leader to lie and sell out, while classifying himself correctly despite the lie. If Black Americans came from Africa by boat in the 1600s, America didn't figure this out until 1988? And this isn't just a white lie. This is a lie woven by $5 pretendians, by secret treaties between immigrant groups, by decades of policy and propaganda all aimed at one single goal, convincing the world that the original people of this soil simply do not exist. They have every story in the world about the false history. And then you ask for ship manifest and evidence of ships, and then suddenly they can't produce them. But they could show you evidence of the Titanic hundreds of feet under the ocean. They won't even show you the entirety of the Titanic under the water. Only a corner of this ship. They still parse that history. They have reclassified the true indigenous people, renamed you, and redrawn maps around you, hoping you would forget the land your spirit is made from. Now they deploy their little native influencers online, armed with fraudulent petitions and digital picket signs, begging platforms to remove you from your own story. They are performing a pathetic pantomime of indigeneity. If you are indigenous, why would you need outside help? What are they protecting? If you're truly indigenous Native Americans, how could someone take that from you? Why the sudden panic? Every post they make, every petition they circulate is an admission. You've been caught, and now history will be made. Every other race are the visitors. It is time, Black Americans. Time for you to start acting like the host in your home, because all of this is yours. It is time you start acting like the host.
Why don't you move to a different country? Why are you staying here, young?
Tell me why they ask us, why don't we leave, when they brought us here, right? I didn't ride over here on a boat because we wanted to. Our family was brought here out of no goodwill and used as slaves. And on top of that, to this day, people still fight like this white man on the screen talking about how, well, why don't you leave? Well, why don't we all stop the hate? Because that's all this is. To have any kind of disregard for a different race, you purely and basically are saying, I'm dumb. Because what do you mean? Different cultures are beautiful. Different ethnicities are beautiful. Even the white people. Have a great day.
Child, I was just going down a rabbit hole. And every time I read something, every time I sit and pay attention to what white folks are doing, whether it's discrimination, surveillance, policy rollbacks, or just their weird obsession with black folks and blackness, I come back to the same truth time and time again. We need to be just as obsessed with ourselves and our community as they are with destroying us. And baby, they are obsessed. They are working overtime, studying us, tracking us, creating laws around us, erasing us from textbooks, attacking DEI, banning black thought, and designing entire political platforms around limiting our progress. Baby, they're beyond obsessed. And child, I can't figure it out. And meanwhile, we're over here trying to be resilient, trying to out-survive a system that has already shown us time and time again it does not intend for us to survive. But let me tell you what I know for sure. Resilience is not necessarily a liberation strategy. It's a survival strategy. And at some point, we have to say enough is enough and start building for us with the same intentionality they use to try to dismantle us. Because, baby, some of y'all not angry enough. Yeah. Look at what's happening right now. 2024 and 2025 have been full of anti-Black policy shifts. States are banning Black history, attacking our schools, defunding diversity programs, and rewriting laws to weaken our political power. The FBI has already confirmed white nationalist extremism is the number one domestic threat. Yet we are the ones constantly policed, surveilled, and blamed. Every sign points to the same thing. They are playing offense, and baby, we're stuck playing defense. And I get it. It is hard to untangle yourself from a system designed to keep you dependent. It's hard to trust. It's hard to build with people when every attempt at Black unity in history was met with violence and sabotage. So I get it. But here's the part that we can't avoid. If we don't build for us, they will continue to build against us. It's inevitable. So we have to refuse. We refuse begging for a seat. We refuse to keep asking for protection from people who created the danger. We refuse to keep surviving inside a system we could be rebuilding outside of. And if we're going to be resilient, let it be because we're creating something new, not because we're trying to cling to something that was never meant for us. It's time, y'all. Time to create, time to build, time to choose us with the same loyalty and commitment they use to choose domination. Baby, we have to refuse like our lives depended on it. Because they do. All right, Black folks, drink your water. Stay rooted, real, and knowledgeable. And mind your Black business. Happy Black History 365.
When Black people bring up slavery, segregation, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, and systematic racism, it disrupts a very carefully protected myth. The myth that America is fair, equal, and earned purely through hard work. So for some people, especially white Americans who never had to question whether the system was designed against them, that truth feels like a personal attack. So instead of confronting history, they reject it, they minimize it, and they say that was a long time ago. They usually tell Black people, why can't you just move on, And if you don't like America, why can't you just leave? But how can you tell people to leave a country that their ancestors built for free? America was built by Black people. The economy, the infrastructure, the wealth accumulation, none of it happens without centuries of unpaid Black labor, And yet after emancipation, Black people were never given the same access to land, safety, education, and opportunities as white Americans. Freedom was promised, but never fully delivered. And that's the many part that many people don't want to admit, because acknowledging history means acknowledging that equality today is not accidental. It means understanding that the racial wealth gap didn't come from poor choices. It came from laws that excluded Black people from home ownership, from quality education, from business loans, from safety, and from justice. Black people have to be resilient in a system that repeatedly shows them that it was never designed for them to thrive. And when Black and brown people demand fairness, suddenly it is seen as aggression. And why is that? Because justice feels like a loss to those who have benefited from the imbalance. Black people, they are told to love America unconditionally, but America has never loved them back in the same way. When they criticize America, criticism is always labeled as hatred, even though the most patriotic act you can do is demanding a country to live up to its own ideas. You don't fix a problem by pretending the crack doesn't exist, White people fear and refuse to acknowledge history because it means admitting responsibility, and they fear losing dominance. But here is the truth. Acknowledging history, it doesn't mean an attack, Remembering history is not about guilt, it is about growth. Our Black people are not asking for special treatment, they are asking for the same freedoms, protections, dignity that were promised but consistently denied. They are asking to live without having to justify their pain, their existence, or their humanity. And until America is willing to confront its past, honestly, it will continue to repeat it in different forms, because a nation that refuses to face its history, it will always be haunted by it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.